Kevin, hi. Was it a mistake not to start Shedeur earlier?
Yeah, I'm not gonna get into those type of things, Tony. I'm obviously focused on what's in front of us.
In About the second 2-point conversion, Batonio said after the game, you guys were repping that play back in Philadelphia. I remember seeing it myself. But the fact is, Judkins was not with you in Philadelphia. So, did he get reps Friday on that play?
He did.
How'd he do?
We ran the play, so but, Tony. Bottom line is, we'll always look at things that we can do better, but I trust our guys. We work hard during the week to rep plays that we may play that you may show in the game, but that was not the issue there.
Okay, thank you.
Get ready, because this NFL story is straight up wild. We're talking a situation so messy, so chaotic, and so unbelievable that people are still trying to wrap their heads around it. This thing has betrayal, strange coaching choices, a rookie quarterback playing like he's been in the league for years, and a defensive superstar who just made NFL history calling out his head coach in the sharpest, most professional way possible. This isn't your usual post-game drama. This is the type of storyline that makes the NFL feel like a full-blown reality show. Fans, insiders, and analysts are all staring at Cleveland right now asking the same thing: what is going on over there? Because the Browns didn't just lose, they took one of the most embarrassing, crushing L's you're gonna see all season. They got beat at home, yes, at home, by the one-win Tennessee Titans. The final score, 31-29. Let that sink in for a second.
For the tie, no Shedeur, it's Judkins on the direct snap. He was supposed to pitch it, but didn't and couldn't. And now he's going to have to throw it, and he does. And it's incomplete. And the Titans hold him off. You know, it was a gadget play, creative play last week when they tried the direct snap.
Cleveland came into the game as 12-point favorites in their own stadium against a Titans squad that had been getting smacked around week after week, sitting out an 11 and looking like they were ready to coast into the offseason. This matchup was supposed to be light work, a simple warm-up, the kind of game where you clean up mistakes and let your young QB get comfortable. Instead, it turned into a coaching disaster so bad people are still arguing about it everywhere, from ESPN to group chats to barbershops. It exposed cracks so wide in this organization you could drive a whole truck through them, and this is where things go from bad to straight up organizational meltdown. Myles Garrett, the face of this franchise, the dude who just became the 8th player in NFL history to hit 100 career sacks in only 113 games, finally stepped to the mic and dropped a shocking message that nobody expected. This is the same Myles Garrett who usually keeps everything in-house, who lives and breathes Cleveland's colors, who always holds that tight player-coach unity. But this time, he didn't just talk about missed plays or effort or "we'll get better next week." He didn't hide behind cliches or scripted lines. Myles Garrett made it clear in the calmest but most cutting way that his head coach Kevin Stefanski made the wrong call, and he wanted the world to know it. The way he said it, that wasn't heat of the moment frustration. That wasn't a slip. It was calculated. It was intentional. It was a message, and that message has the entire league buzzing. But before we break down exactly what Myles Garrett said and why it hit Cleveland like an earthquake, we gotta talk about what actually happened on that field, because the context makes everything 10 times more frustrating. It paints a picture of a coaching staff that might be scrambling, overwhelmed, and completely unsure of how to handle the moment. Cleveland came into the game with a rookie quarterback stepping up and trying to show he belongs. His name, Shedeur Sanders, a name everyone knows. His pedigree is no secret. He's the son of Coach Prime, Deion Sanders, and with that comes attention, pressure, expectations, and eyes on every single snap. Shedeur walked into this matchup knowing he had to prove himself, knowing this was his moment to show Cleveland fans what he could bring to the future of this franchise. And instead of giving him the chance to cook, instead of letting him continue his momentum, things spiraled into a situation that now has an entire city and the whole NFL questioning what's happening behind closed doors in Cleveland. Shedeur Sanders walked into that game knowing the pressure was heavy heavy, knowing every throw he made was going to be judged under a microscope and knowing critics were lined up waiting for him to slip. But instead of folding under all that noise, the kid stepped in and flat out showed out. He threw for 364 yards. Yeah, read that again. 364 yards from a rookie quarterback. He dropped 3 touchdown passes, including a gorgeous fade to a receiver named Fanon that looked like it came straight out of a highlight reel. The touch, clean. The anticipation, next level. The field vision, way beyond what you expect from someone in their first season. Everything about that throw screamed future superstar, and the whole stadium felt it. On top of all that, Shedeur punched in a 7-yard rushing touchdown, reminding everyone he's not just some standstill pocket passer, he's a dual threat who can move, escape pressure, and make a defense panic when they think they boxed him in. He showed skills people didn't even realize he had, and he made it look natural. And here's the wild part. He led the Browns back from 14 points down against a Titans team controlling the clock, dominating possession, and running their plan almost perfectly. Yeah, he threw 1 interception. He tried to extend a play too long and force something that wasn't there. But mistakes happen. What matters is how you respond. And this is where Shedeur separated himself from the average young quarterbacks. The question for every rising quarterback is simple. What do you do after you mess up? Do you fold or do you come back stronger? And Shedeur answered that loud and clear by marching the Browns down the field for 2 fourth-quarter touchdowns. One of them was a ridiculous 80-yard drive in 7 plays, and the energy in that stadium flipped instantly. Browns fans were on their feet, yelling like they were about to witness one of the wildest comebacks of the entire season. Momentum wasn't just shifting, it had Cleveland fully charged up. This was clutch football. This was a rookie acting like he's been in the league for a decade, staying calm in big moments, firing laser throws, and keeping his team alive when everything seemed lost. And then Kevin Stefanski made the decision that people are still trying to understand. After Shedeur led that electric touchdown drive to bring Cleveland within reach, they needed a 2-point conversion to tie it up. The rookie was cooking, completely locked in, teammates trusting him fully, and the crowd going crazy because they knew he was the hottest player on the field. This is the exact moment where a coach sticks with his quarterback, where you put the ball in the hands of the dude who dragged you back into the game. This is where you say, go win it. But Stefanski didn't do that, not even close. Instead, he pulled Shedeur off the field. He took his quarterback, the same QB who had been shining all game, and benched him for the most important snap of the night. Then he sent out a wildcat play, a gimmick setup that had no rhythm, no momentum, and no real threat behind it. And surprise, it blew up instantly and went nowhere. The play collapsed before it even had a chance, and the Browns' shot at tying the game was basically gone on the spot. And here's the thing, it actually gets worse. This wasn't even Stefanski's first time doing it in the same quarter. Earlier, after the Browns scored their first fourth-quarter touchdown to make it 31-23, they went for 2 then as well. Shedeur fumbled the snap on that try. Not ideal, sure, but everyone saw the context. Cleveland's starting center was out with an injury. The backup was thrown into a loud, high-pressure situation, and miscommunication happens in those moments. It's football. Not every snap is perfect, and players adjust and keep it moving. But instead of treating it like a normal hiccup and trusting his young quarterback to bounce back, Stefanski made up his mind right there. He decided that Shedeur wasn't going to handle the next 2-point attempt either, no matter how well he was playing or how much confidence he had built. And that choice turned a bad moment into a full-on storyline, one the whole league is now watching closely. And here's the part that truly flipped the whole situation on its head. When reporters asked Kevin Stefanski if Shedeur's fumbled snap was the reason he didn't use him on that second 2-point attempt, Stefanski shut that down fast and said no. So if the fumble wasn't the reason, then what was? That's when things took a turn that had people staring at their screens in disbelief. Stefanski admitted, and this is where jaws across the football world dropped, that he had already made the decision before the game even started that if the Browns needed 2-point conversions, he was going Wildcat. Let that sink in. He decided days earlier, before seeing how Shedeur would play, before knowing the game's rhythm, before knowing who would be hot or cold, that he wasn't letting his quarterback handle those moments. That's not adapting on the fly. That's not coaching based on what's happening on the field. That's sticking to a script no matter how the game evolves, and that kind of locked-in, stubborn thinking is the exact thing that loses teams games they should win, and Cleveland absolutely paid the price for it. Now, let's get into Myles Garrett's response, because this is where everything tightens together, where the frustration simmering in that locker room finally gets a voice powerful enough to shake the whole building. When reporters asked Garrett about Shedeur's performance and how he led the Browns back into position to potentially tie the game if they had converted even one of those 2-point attempts, Garrett's answer was loaded with meaning. He said, and I quote, I think he did well. I think he looked good. He came up big when we needed him to. Right away, you can hear the message hidden inside the message. Garrett didn't just say Shedeur played well, he emphasized it. He highlighted that the rookie stepped up in the biggest moments. And with those words, he basically voiced the same question every fan was yelling at their TV. If Shedeur was doing so well, if he looked that good, if he came up big when they needed him, and why wasn't he on the field for the most important plays of the night? But Garrett wasn't finished. He added, there's going to be some ups and downs for anyone, especially a rookie, but he went in there and he looked composed. He escaped out of some sacks, broke the pocket, made some big time plays, and just looking for him to continue to grow, looking for that clock to speed up a little bit, but he looks more and more at ease each week. This wasn't just casual praise. This was a superstar veteran, one of the most respected players in the league, carefully choosing his words to highlight exact traits he sees in Shedeur: composure under heat, the ability to escape pressure, making tough plays, and showing steady improvement every week. Garrett wasn't talking in generalities. He was listing specifics and doing it intentionally. He was painting a picture of a young quarterback who not only played well, but who has the makings of a future star. And because all of this came in the context of questions about the failed 2-point conversions, Garrett's message became crystal clear, without ever directly pointing fingers. Myles Garrett is too smart and too seasoned to walk up to a podium and say, Coach Stefanski messed up and cost us the game. That's not how a leader of his stature operates. But make no mistake, that's exactly what his words were saying, just wrapped in professionalism and experience. He said it in a way that anyone paying attention could hear loudly and clearly, while still keeping everything respectful. When the face of your franchise uses his media time to highlight the rookie quarterback's poise, growth, and reliability, especially after the coach benched that same rookie in a game-deciding moment. That's not random. That's not accidental. That's a message delivered with precision. That right there was a not-so-subtle shot at the decision to yank the quarterback during the biggest moments of the game. The difference between Garrett's press conference and Stefanski's couldn't have been louder or more revealing. Garrett came out thoughtful, honest, and straight-up real about what went wrong and what needed to improve, while Stefanski looked tense, guarded, and hiding behind stiff, corporate-style lines that didn't actually say anything. When reporters pushed Stefanski about those 2-point decisions and asked him to walk them through his thinking, he kept circling back to the same recycled phrases. It's on me. I'm responsible for all of it. I make every call. And sure, Kevin, saying I'm responsible sounds noble, but if you won't explain why you made those choices or acknowledge they might have been the wrong ones, that's not accountability. That's just polished deflection wearing a leadership mask. One reporter even asked whether the calls came from him or from offensive coordinator Tommy Rees, and Stefanski instantly got tight, shooting back, I make every call. I'm responsible for all of it. He repeated it multiple times like he was trying to reassure himself as much as everyone else. But here's the issue. Taking ownership only matters if it comes with actual reflection and a willingness to adjust. Just repeating it's on me while dodging real questions isn't leadership. It's stonewalling, and it's exactly the type of thing that irritates players, frustrates fans, and makes the whole city wonder if the person in charge genuinely understands what went wrong. The reporters weren't letting him slide though. They kept pressing, kept asking the questions the fan base wanted answered, and kept pushing for clarity. And then came the moment that left people stunned. When someone asked how early Stefanski knew he'd be running the Wildcat on that 2-point attempt, he admitted he decided during the week that this is what they do in that situation. Just think about how wild that is. You've got your rookie quarterback putting together one of his best performances so far, making great throws, escaping pressure, running the offense with swagger, rallying the team, and playing like someone who completely understands the moment. He's got the momentum, the confidence, and the entire stadium behind him. And your response is to ignore all of that real-time energy because you made a plan days ago. That's not coaching. That's following a recipe even when the ingredients in front of you clearly call for something different. It makes zero sense. No wonder the frustration inside that locker room must be boiling right now. These pros go out there putting their bodies on the line every single week, grinding through practices, studying tape, doing everything coaches ask, and then they're losing games because of decisions that leave everyone scratching their heads. Myles Garrett also addressed the defensive struggles, including the team giving up 184 rushing yards to a Titans squad that came into the night with just one win. He spoke calmly but seriously, saying the expectation is always to win and that they prepare hard, practice hard, and build habits they expect to show up during the game. He said, expectation is always to win. Prepare as well as you can, practice hard as you can, and bank those things and hope that you come out and do what you practice all week. Coming from a respected team leader, those words hit hard. Garrett wasn't yelling or calling people out, but you could hear the disappointment sitting right underneath every sentence. And when a player with his status hints at frustration like that, especially after the coach doubles down on a decision that the whole football world questioned, you know there's tension brewing behind the scenes. And then Garrett added the line that stung the most, and we didn't do that. When reporters asked what went wrong with the run defense, he didn't sugarcoat anything. He said, I agree with him. It's not who we are. It's hard to tell you right now what it was, if it was one thing in particular, but it just wasn't us. That's a leader speaking up. That's a star player taking responsibility without throwing anyone under the bus. But even inside that honest answer, you can feel the frustration bubbling. The Browns are built to shut down the run. That's their identity. They've got talent all over that defensive front, and they've shown all season that when they're locked in, they can dominate the line of scrimmage. So for them to give up that many rushing yards to a one-win team, something wasn't aligned, whether it was preparation, focus, game planning, or execution. And when you mix defensive slip-ups with offensive coaching choices that leave everyone scratching their heads, you get losses that should have never happened. Tennessee didn't run some magical scheme. They kept it simple and smart. Run the ball to bleed the clock, keep it away from Shedeur Sanders, and use chips and quick passes to take Myles Garrett out of the game plan. Don't turn the ball over and don't give Cleveland any freebies. And honestly, they executed 2 out of 3 pieces of that plan almost perfectly. Their ground game was rolling. They kept Garrett from blowing up drives. But what they couldn't stop was Shedeur. The rookie was too sharp, too calm, too accurate. He picked them apart every time they gave him an opening. Garrett even acknowledged it when talking about Tennessee's approach, saying they were running the ball, can't get a sack on a run play. Other than that, they chipped, rolled the pocket, the usual stuff. He was getting it out. One red, putting it in the air. If they couldn't get it in one read, they'd come back the next drive and continue running the ball. They just kept their heads down and kept grinding away. That's a veteran who understands the game inside and out. He's giving respect when an opponent executes their plan cleanly, but look closer at what he's emphasizing. Execution, sticking to what works, grinding through the game. The hidden message is hard to miss. If those traits are what helped the Titans succeed, why didn't the Browns' own coach trust those same traits with his offense? And then you add in the special teams disasters, and the frustration hits a whole new level. A blocked punt that gave Tennessee prime field position. Kickoff coverage so messy that the Titans returned the opening kick to the 45-yard line. These are basic, fundamental breakdowns that simply can't happen in the NFL. Especially not at home, especially not when you're double-digit favorites, and especially not against a team with only one win. When reporters asked about special teams coordinator Bubba Ventrone, Stefanski refused to give a direct answer. Instead, he fell back into the same tired line. We have to play better, we have to coach better. Fans have heard that phrase so many times it's lost all meaning. And honestly, yeah, Kevin, coaching better would be a great place to start. At some point, we need to improve has to turn into we're making adjustments, or the words become empty noise. And just when it felt like the night couldn't get any worse, the injury news hit like a punch to the stomach. Ethan Pauchik, the starting center and one of the anchors of that offensive line, likely suffered an Achilles injury. That's brutal. If confirmed, it could sideline him for a long stretch, maybe even into next season, depending on how severe it is. Losing a center of his caliber is a massive blow, especially for a rookie quarterback who's gaining rhythm. Multiple Browns players are now dealing with concussions, which means they're heading straight into protocol. And in today's NFL, that instantly makes their status unclear moving forward. The injuries are stacking up, the season is slipping through their fingers, and that makes it more important than ever for the coaching staff to maximize whatever talent they still have on the field. And right now, the most electric, most dangerous, most game-changing weapon Cleveland has is Shedeur Sanders. And somehow they're wasting his talent with decisions that make absolutely no sense. Before anything else, let's take a second to appreciate what Shedeur actually did in this game, because it deserves real recognition. The kid threw for 364 yards, tossed 3 touchdowns, ran in another one, and led his team back from 14 points down, like he's been doing this for years. That fade route to Fanyan showed perfect touch and real NFL anticipation. That rushing touchdown proved he's not just a pocket passer, and that 80-yard drive in the fourth quarter, making clutch throw after clutch throw, showed a level of poise and maturity you rarely see in a rookie. Yes, the interception was bad, and Shedeur would probably say the same himself, but greatness isn't about never messing up. It's about how you respond, and Shedeur's response was to come back firing, take control, and drag his team back into the fight when it mattered most. Even Stefanski, the same coach who pulled him during the biggest moments, had to admit how well the kid played. He said, obviously with any young player, there's going to be ups and downs, and I thought there were some really good moments, some really good throws, especially late in drives. I thought he was really good there. Some of his pocket movement was outstanding. Outstanding pocket movement, really good moments, really good throws late in drives. All right then, Kevin, if all that is true, if your rookie quarterback was outstanding, really good, and delivering late in drives, then explain this. Why wasn't he on the field for the 2 most important plays of the game? That's the million-dollar question. That's what Myles Garrett is hinting at without directly saying it. That's what every Browns fan is yelling. That's what national media is debating. And it's the one question Kevin Stefanski absolutely refuses to give a straight answer to. Now, to be fair, the decision to go for 2 after the first touchdown, making it 31-23, is at least defensible from the analytics angle. Stefanski even broke it down. When you're down 14, the math says if you score and hit the 2-point try, you're down 6 and in position to tie with another touchdown and an extra point. If you miss, you're down 8 and still need another touchdown and another 2-point conversion anyway. On paper, sure, that logic makes sense, but the second you put those numbers on a real football field, with real momentum, real pressure, and real execution, everything changes fast. A good idea on a chart doesn't mean much when your players aren't being put in the right situations to actually execute it. And the fumbled snap on the first 2-point attempt wasn't some unforgivable disaster either. Snaps get fumbled in the NFL. It's part of the game. The starting center was hurt, the backup was trying to execute in a loud, chaotic moment, and things happen. Normally, you shake it off and regroup for the next opportunity. But instead of learning from that or making sure the next attempt featured the best players in their best positions, Stefanski doubled down on stubbornness. When Cleveland scored again to make it 31-29, with all the momentum, with Shedeur absolutely cooking, with the stadium roaring, he pulled his quarterback again and went to the Wildcat. Austin Judkins took the snap, and the whole play collapsed instantly. Either he forgot the pitch, or the Titans read it like an open book. But either way, it failed. No pitch, no throw, no shot at tying the game. Game over. Season practically on life support. And Shedeur Sanders, the player who gave them every chance to win, is standing on the sideline watching helplessly as coaching decisions bury the team's hopes. It's the kind of moment that sticks with players, sticks with fans, and sticks with anyone who watched that game and wondered why the Browns didn't trust the guy who fought for them all night. And if Cleveland doesn't fix this fast, if the coaching staff doesn't start putting players in position to succeed, if they don't start trusting the talent right in front of them, this season could slip away before they even realize it's gone. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want more deep dive reactions, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. It helps the channel grow, and it lets us keep bringing you the real stories behind the biggest moments in the game.